Hey, what the hell's going on, you guys? It is TriplePlayer Negative AE, and welcome back to another episode of Higurashi When They Cry. Last we left off, we figured out that Reina was not all that she seemed, maybe, and we ended up telling her everything. And then she listened in on conversations, and we're not gonna have a good day at school today. If there's school today, I don't know. Maybe it's like the weekend or some shit. Let's see. Weariness and a headache. Not a very nice way to start the day. What's wrong? Keiichi? You don't look so well. When did you go to sleep? It seemed that my mom had noticed my sullen state. Yesterday I kept on walking in the middle of the night. Without a doubt I felt a presence. Felt the presence of someone standing in front of my door. I told myself repeatedly that it was my imagination and forced myself to try and sleep. Except, not being able to stand it, I gathered up my courage and opened the door. Of course, there wasn't anyone there. I think I did this 3 times throughout the night. Maybe I just didn't remember doing it any more than that. Even though I was able to get to the breakfast table without incident, I still didn't feel at ease. It might be a cold. I don't really have an appetite. My, you do seem a little warm. Well, can you make it to school? Technically, I did go to a school, but it was mostly self-study. It wouldn't matter if I missed a day, would it? It could have been that I haven't been feeling well for the last few days because I really did have a cold. If I took some medicine and got a good day of rest, I might be able to greet everyone with a smile tomorrow. Dude, I don't think this guy understands the gravitas of the situation right now. Ding dong. Startled, I looked back and forth between the entrance and the clock. It was 10 minutes later than I usually met up with Rena. It was Rena. Rena-chan came to get you. What are you gonna do? You going to take the day off? Rena was a good girl. She might be somewhat quirky, but she was certainly cute. The lunches she made were delicious, and she always looked out for me. Why should I be so scared of something like that? It wasn't Rena's fault. It was probably mine. It had to have been my cold. It just had to be. I'll rest. Sorry. Then I'll go send her off for you. Dude, you better fucking answer that door yourself. She's gonna mom's gonna open that door. Mom's head is just gonna go right off. Calling it. I would have to pass by the entrance to get back to my room. I didn't have the nerve to meet with Rena, so I wrapped myself in a blanket on the sofa and closed my eyes. I was so sleep deprived I quickly fell into a deep slumber. That's not good, dude. At least watch what happens to your mom. Dude, they didn't even mention. I'd only intended to lie down for a bit, but it was almost noon when I woke up. Yeah, because Rena murdered all of them. Oh my god, I called out to my parents, but I didn't seem to be around. On the table I found a lunch prepared and a note. Oh. Alright, yeah. Just leave your child at home. Yeah, it's work. It happened every so often. This music is about to turn real bad. We'll probably be back sometime after dinner. On the note it said, the insurance card is in the cabinet. Take it and go to the hospital. Also a well-drawn map to the hospital. I bet you that shit is not there. I hadn't been there before, so I didn't know exactly where it was. Dude, this is all suspicious. I had a light lunch, and although it was really just leftovers from the morning, and just in case, went to the hospital. Dude, this is stressful. Like, I'm stressed. Normally I'd never be here in the middle of a weekday. I am stressed right now. Just walking around like this had me feeling guilty. It was an odd feeling. Following my mom's, quotes, map, I took a road I usually never used. After walking for a bit, the hospital sign came into view. Quotes. Erie Clinic was written on a rather stylishly on the sign. The clinic wasn't very big, but based on the scale of the rest of Hinamizawa, it was far too grand. There was a parking lot and even a reserved spot for buses. It must be making a mint. I spaced out in the air-conditioned waiting room until it was my turn to be seen. Ibara-san, please make your way to the examination room. I don't like this at all. Any part of this. Like nothing. After properly answering all of the chatty doctor's questions, he responded with the old, "It's probably a cold." Yeah, why would you go to the hospital for that, dude? Give me 3 days worth of medicine. The only mom I know that's like, hey, you have a small cold, let's go to the hospital. Get out of here. I thought I was a little overboard, but if it cleared away the gloomy feeling I'd been having lately, then it was worth it. Hope this man didn't eat that lunch on the table. I settled the bill and took a quick trip to the washroom. As I was leaving, I heard a conversation between some elderly people who seemed to be regulars at the clinic. Of course, I had no intention of eavesdropping, if it just wasn't for that word. Must have been an Onikushi. Onikakushi, I wonder. She was still pretty young. Might have just eloped. With whom? That man from Tokyo who visits every season? The one with that big camera? Didn't you know they were getting along pretty well? They talking about Tomitaki-san? I could feel my ears perking up. I don't want to know about that. But you have to make preparations before you elope. Leave a note or quit their job or something. It's an elopement because they didn't leave a note or message. Thought that I'll never see that young nurse's face again makes me rather sad. Takano-san is an upstanding young woman. She'll be fine wherever she goes. Takano-san. Woman with Tomitaki-san. She worked at this clinic? Oh yeah, Shiro-sama's shadow was following me wherever I went. Started listening more closely, but they began talking about fishing, and it didn't seem like they were going to revisit the topic, so I gave up and left. Thus, even though I was separated from the daily monotony of school, I wasn't able to escape from the Oyashiro-sama's shadow. But, of course, Oyashiro-sama was the guardian deity of this place, of Hinamizawa. As long as I was in Hinamizawa, I wouldn't be able to escape. Something about this whole endeavor, like, and then, so I have a theory, and like, like now that things are kicking off, I'm like, I have a lot more things to say. I have a theory that whenever this comes up, the Higurashi or whatever they call it, the cicadas, I feel like that's when shit goes down. Like, I feel like that's why it's called that. Maybe it was because I was walking outside, but my appetite had suddenly returned. Might as well buy a snack with the change from the examination fee on the way home. Contemplating that, I turned into a familiar street. At that moment, I heard a car horn abruptly honk behind me. Was I really walking so far in the middle of the road where I would be in a car's way? I moved farther off to the side, but the horn was still honking at me. I turned around, peeved. Ibara-san, good day to you. It was Oishi-san. He stepped out of his car, AC on full blast, and waved to me. What's up today? On school on break? Just not feeling well, so I took the day off. I was about to buy lunch and head home. That's great. I'm just about to get lunch myself. Would you mind getting together? If you're not feeling up for it, then don't mind me. I was just going to lie down after going home anyway. and I didn't really have a cold. I doubt you'd want to eat at one of these local places. Let's go into town. It's a bit of a drive, is that alright? I know a pretty good place. I'd finally begun to understand Oishi-san's roundabout way of saying things. He probably wanted to talk to me about stuff that would be difficult to discuss while in Hinamizawa. So Rena's watching that moment. So Rena knows that I'm leaving with this cop. 100%. Like, Rena's like the spire. She's the watcher. I went with Oishi-san riding in his frigid car, almost as if the sunlight, bright sunlight outside was a lie. I'm sorry about calling you so late last night. Did your parents get angry at you? No. I recalled Rena, who had been listening to the phone conversation all that time, separated from me by just the door. Even now, in the brightness of the sunlight, the thought still creeped me out. With a big bump that jolted the car, the road connecting the city from dirt to pavement, my head swiveled back with a sudden realization. That's right. It was where Tomitaki-san died. They've hit a snag on the investigation regarding Tomitaki-san. Oishi-san spoke while peering at me from the corner of his eye. They believed it was caused by hallucinogens, given how he was clawing out his own throat. But a drug that could cause that to happen so suddenly is extremely hard to come by. Bear in mind, of course, the autopsy was done with that premise in mind, but we didn't find any leads. You know that thing that you see in comics all the time? Where there's a drug that if you put it in them, it doesn't leave any traces? It exists. I read that as suck. Suck in the hall? It's got to be like succinylthol, or something or other. It's pretty common, but you see, there doesn't seem to be any kind of drug that would cause Tomitaki-san to react like that. And then you're saying the police concluded Tomitaki-san died from the curse. I couldn't help but feel that the police were worthless. I just wanted the idea of a curse to be disassociated with Tomitaki-san's mysterious death. Unfortunately, that's how it looks right now. But putting aside the cause of death, without a doubt, he was surrounded by a group of people that had taken a beating before he had died. That was no curse, but an incident that unquestionably involved other humans. That made me a bit relieved. We passed in front of the rather desolate, but busier than Hinamizawa train station. The car pulled into a restaurant parking lot, and I followed Oishi-san into the shop. It was pretty crowded, but there were only adults at this hour. Of course, there wouldn't be children in the middle of a weekday. 2, please. Not smoking. This way, please. When you are ready to order, please call me over. We were led by a peculiarly dressed waitress to our table, as sat with Oishi-san in the booth. So what do you think? Aren't the waitresses' outfits here cute? Huh? I guess. This shop is always quite busy. It's more about the waitresses than the food, you see. Uh-huh. Oishi-san, you're leering. Huh? Am I really? Okay. Good conversation, Oishi-san. Regardless of how the waitress looked, the food was decent enough. After finishing our meals while talking about some inane topic, Oishi-san's after-meal cup of coffee arrived at the table. Yesterday we talked about Hinamizawa's past, didn't we? Yeah. That it was the village of man-eating demons or something like that. I didn't know much about it myself, so I asked my grandmother about it this morning. Oishi-san took out the notepad that was stuffed into his breast pocket. Turns out that Hinamizawa used to be called Onagafuchi or Ogre's Abyss. Onagafuchi. Quite the name. The name is still around. Yeah, I've heard it before. I'm trying to remember what scene I heard that word. The marsh where the Shinto's priest's wife drowned herself is still called Ogre's Abyss. Okay, maybe that is where it's said that the depths of the marsh connect the realm of demons. Of course, nobody had told me about any such of an ominous marsh. And you see, it appears they were both feared and revered. Respect born of fear. I guess you could say it was kind of a defecation? I don't know that word. A village of inhuman creatures. Seems that demons were Sennin or mountain-dwelling mystics of sorts. Taking villagers with incurable illnesses into the Ogre's Abyss and healing them, for example. Even if we are calling them demons, Tengu long-nosed goblins or Sennin would be a more apt description. They don't seem like such terrible people, even though they were called demons. But they were still man-eating demons. According to the story my grandma told me, as payment for treating the son's illness, let us eat the mother who brought him here, was apparently how things went. Price of curing her son was herself? That's unsettling. Of course, the mother took her son and ran. Then you see, all the people who lived in Onagafuchi, the demons chased them down, rounded them up, and captured them. The entire village, apparently. Quite a frightening thing to imagine. In the end, it seems that both the mother and the son were caught and eaten. The end. There's a problem with this story. Both witnesses in this story were eaten, so nobody was able to tell the tale. Huh? Well, there are plenty of old fables like this. In contrast to the ghastly tale, Oishi-san laughed heartily while sipping his coffee. But, well, there are quite a few other tales where the demons from Onagafuchi band together to capture their prey. I recalled that Mion said all the villagers united and fought against the dam construction. I saw similarities with how that part about unification overlapped. Normally they hunted down a single person and they chose how it was going to be beforehand. Huh? That caught my attention. Oishi-san also appeared to be pondering what it meant. My grandmother told me that you must never interfere with the demon's hunt. You should just hole up in your house, hide under the covers, she said. So what does all this mean? Or what does this all mean? It means that you mustn't ever help or protect the prey. As long as you don't disturb the demon's hunt, no harm will fall upon the villagers. It seems there's that kind of rule. Basically, don't help the victim. Pretend you didn't see the atrocities, in other words. What happens if you break the rule? Well, they're man-eating demons after all. Many parts of that tale caught my attention. Parts of the story he told me overlapped with his theory that the perpetrators were all the village families. Even if it wasn't the whole village, it was conceivable that the villagers were hiding under the covers and leaving them to die. When there's a group that was on their hunt, wasn't it? I didn't dare speak it. Then Oishi-san... Wait, then Oishi-san, I guess it looks like it's either the village's families or a group of villagers pretending or perpetrating the crimes. What do you think, Maebara-san? Excuse me. Another cup of coffee, please. That's what I wanted to know. It seemed that we were both waiting for the other to say that last part. I waited for the waitress to finish pouring coffee before speaking. Last year I had a nagging feeling when Satoshi-kun disappeared. Oishi-san muttered as he watched the milk swirl around in his coffee. So, those friends of Satoshi-san, meaning your group of friends, Maebara-san, I had a bit, really just a little bit, okay, of background checking done on them. If Oishi had said this to me before, I would have been furious, since He told me earlier not to suspect my friends. But as I was now, I couldn't. This might sound pretty stupid. Hey, Barasan, if you feel that it's stupid, please say so. We'll just stop. Oishi-san was wearing the most serious expression that I've ever seen from him. It was as if he was telling me to prepare myself and listen. There were quite a few things I regretted hearing from Oishi-san, but none of them were as threatening as this. A little voice inside me was screaming like an alarm. Stop, Keiichi. This was probably the last one. I took a deep breath and silenced that voice. I would not run from the truth. Please. That was all I could utter. Oishi-san stared into my eyes silently for a few moments. After he was certain I was ready, he began. The victim of the incident in the first year was the overseer. A few weeks prior, he had an altercation with Mion Sonozaki-san. Multiple altercations. Oishi-san had said before that Mion had defied the dam project vehemently. Well, it wasn't hard to imagine how she'd be if she got worked up. In the second year, the married couple who supported the project died in that accident, right? They had a daughter. Her name is Satoko Yojo-san. That's super weird. Satoko meaning Satoko? Oishi-san's look told me that my voice was too loud. I realized it as well and quickly quieted down. You see, the Shinto priest and his wife who died the third year, you see. Their daughter is Rika Furude-san. What? What? Housewife that died in the fourth year? You know already, don't you? Stepan of Satoko. She was in her aunt and uncle's custody, and she had lost both her parents in that accident. She lived in the victim's house. I could tell my lips were getting dry. I didn't even have the wits to keep my mouth from hanging agape. I had thought that it was nothing but a bizarre incident, one that I could easily distance myself from. But clicking and clacking, it had snuck all the way to my feet. The one who disappeared by the fourth year, by the way, he was Satoko-san's older brother. What? Wait just a second. I took everything I had to finally say that. I took everything I had to finally say that. Oh, I see. I gulped down a glass of water and once again wiped the face with my napkin. For some reason that made no sense to me for a while. I understand now. Calm down, Keiichi Maebara. But Oishi-san was relentless. Instead of waiting for me to finish sorting out my feelings, he started speaking again. One of the last things I shouldn't have heard. All of the victims seem to be connected to your group of friends. That has to be just a coincidence. Hey, Barasan, keep it down. Everyone's looking. Yeah? Toko? Rika-chan? So what if they're connected? You telling me all of my friends? It couldn't be. It just couldn't be. Oh, Rena is different, isn't she? Rena isn't connected with the victims at all. Rene Ryugu was living in the suburb of Ibaraki Prefecture up until last year. Well, it's true that she hadn't directly met with any of the victims. Said it in a roundabout way. She's saying that she's also connected? Actually, I looked into her. Before Ryugu-san moved away to Hinamizawa, she was suspended from school. It seems she went through her school building and broke all of the windows. Rena did that? She broke all the windows at her school? Same silly Rena had. I couldn't even imagine it. Seems that after her 3-day suspension, she didn't return to school. She went to a neurologist and was diagnosed with dysautonomia, given counseling and medication. What is that? Explain it to me. Wonder if it was something like a nervous breakdown. I heard that it happens to people who are really methodical or oversensitive. None of those matched Rena's easygoing personality. And in the counselor's medical report, he recorded all the conversations he had with Rena-san. It shows up. Quite a bit at that. What did? I pressed forward carelessly. Couldn't be anything more for me to regret. She mentioned the word Oyashiro-sama. Okay. It felt like someone's stone-cold hand was caressing my bag. Why had Rena spoken of Oyashiro-sama before she even came to Hinamizawa? It seems that the Oyashiro-sama she spoke of was like a ghost, appearing in her house every night, standing over her pillow, looking down at her. Rose. Couldn't process what I was being told. A while after that, she moved to Hinamizawa. Oh, that's right. She's not an outsider. Huh? Okay. According to the registry register, Ryugu family decided to reside in Hinamizawa. Rena-san moved to Ibaraki right after she finished elementary school. Mind went completely blank. It was similar to the static you'd see on a blank TV channel. My ears began ringing as I lost all sense of comprehension. Hey, Bara-san, are you alright? Shall we stop? Those words brought me back. I couldn't let it end here. Now I understand, Rena. Then how about the last victim, Tomitaki-san? Who is he connected with? Irritated, I let out one final reprisal. All of them. Have you forgotten, Meibara-san? Didn't you spend all night at the festival together quite merrily? Quite a few of the officers saw you enjoying yourself. Now there was nothing I could respond with. I fell silent as my brain turned into mush. We should get going. Meibara-san, did you take your afternoon medicine? I had completely forgotten about the medicine I had gotten today until Oishi-san said that. We had another glass of water and we left the shop as I chugged it down. We got in the car and returned to Hinamizawa via the rough road. I never really did pay attention when I was on my bike, but did cars normally shake this much? It was almost as if the road was desperately trying to tell me something. The big jolt was the difference in elevation of the road when it changed from cement to dirt. I was certain that I heard Tomitaki-san scream. I sat in the silence, just letting myself be shaken by the car. I'll drop you off at your house. Oh God. You missed school because you were ill, correct? My apologies for the long conversation. Why did you talk to me? I blurted out the question. Really just blurted it out. I didn't expect an answer. I did check with you first, didn't I? If we should stop. Not that. Why did you reach out to me? I understood quite well that Oishi-san was investigating the string of suspect or suspicious incidents. But why was he telling me all of this? I knew nothing and I couldn't help. Everything Oishi-san spoke of was news to me. First of all, what could I, having just moved here, know? Yeah, but you're also the least crazy. By chance, if there was a reason for Oishi-san to reach out to me, then it would have to be that I looked suspicious to Oishi-san, as I was a part of Mion's circle of friends. I'm retiring this year. I plan on moving away after retiring as my grandma wants. So while I'm still on the case, I want to bring the truth behind this incident to light. So, Oishi-san, you suspect them, don't you? All of them. Oishi-san didn't really give a response. It felt a little late, but I thought it was his way of showing a bit of consideration for my feelings. This is mostly my intuition from 30 years on this job. Maebara-san, you're the one in danger. Huh? I wanted to reply with, that was absurd, but in my downtrodden state, I couldn't even bring myself to say it. I'll be retiring this year, so I won't be at the Watanagashi next year. I want to settle things. In other words, he was insinuating that on the next Watanagashi, I might be the victim. I've been warned by the chief as well. Each incident in the string of cases has been solved, so don't bring up again, or so I was told. This is the pressure I'm facing. Pressure from what? Someone in Hinamizawa. We've arrived. Is this fun? After some time, the car finally reached the path to my house. The clock read 2 p.m. I was surprised so little time has passed since we ate. It was hot outside the car. The chirping of the higurashi hurt my ears. I wouldn't mind if you just forgot everything I told you today, but I'm still going to keep investigating. I'll end Oyashiro-sama's curse this year. You're saying I should contact you if anything happens. It's fine. Just contact me when you feel you have to, Maebara-san. I wasn't collected enough to understand Oishi-san's roundabout way of saying it. Be sure to take it easy. Sorry for throwing all this at you while you're taking the day off because you're sick. I didn't really get any sort of response. I'll always be on your side. If anything, believe that. I'll be off now. I trust this man. Trust the F out of that man. The tires crunched over the dirt road as the car made a U-turn and disappeared into a cloud of kicked up dust. It felt like I was watching a boat only throw me a lifesaver in shark-infested waters before disappearing into the distance. This was the first time I thought Oishi-san was being unfair, telling me I was going to be the next victim and then just saying to contact him if something happened. This wasn't a criminal investigation. It was fishing. I was the bait dangling off the line. Would the fish be the perpetrator? Or was it really just Oyashiro-sama's curse? Either way, the bait would be swallowed whole. I don't want to die. After some time, I could do nothing but stare at the puddle of water left by the AC from the car. Lots of information on that first half. Lots of things to talk about. I don't know if I'll talk about them right now, but definitely at the end of the chapter. Unless this is the end of the chapter. It's the halfway point. I wonder how much time had passed since I laid down. And your parents are dead? It was getting dark outside. My body was soaked in sweat. It would probably be a good idea to change my sheets. At that moment, the downstairs. Oh no, it's not. She'd gone. Mom was quite the worrywart. Maybe she had called so many times I just didn't notice it. Guarantee you, it's not. Hello, this is the Maebara residence. Oh, he's alive. Hello. Oh, goodness me. This is Mion. How are you doing? Oh, he's alive. Is not how you greet people. I mean, yeah, that's how my friends greet me. But that's not how you greet people. Especially when there's suspiciousness. Is this one of Keiichi's friends? Keiichi is resting now, but shall I put him on? Is this his dad? Haha, sorry. What the fuck is going on? Hello, this is Mion. How are you doing? Keiichi's. Oh, that's me. I'm being a trickster. Idiot, you fell for it. Huh? Kei-chan! After exchange, we both had a good laugh together. Except, I was suspicious of even of her even as we were laughing. Was everybody really involved in the incidents? The fact that I couldn't say no saddened me. I'm relieved that you seem well. Rena was really worried, you know? Totoko-chan was happy and said that you got what you deserved. Rika-chan said, how unfortunate that he's sick. Looks like everyone was making a big deal out of it. Well, you know, so, Kei-chan. Oh god, yes it is. It's now a bad time to come pay you a visit? A visit? No, it's okay. It's not like I'm dying. My grandma made a ton of mochi, you see. I was told to share them, so I'll bring you some. Hey now, you'll catch my cold. Not to worry, both Reina and I are too stupid to catch a cold. See ya. Be there in a bit. When I continue, she hung up cheerfully. Rena's coming too? What it sounded like. Oh god. I was so concerned about meeting Rena, but I guess if she was with Mion. No! No, that doesn't make anything better. I heard the doorbell 10 minutes later. How are you feeling? Did you take your medicine and rest? I did just that. Thank goodness you look well. I was worried. Sorry, I'll be fine by tomorrow. Mion showed a complete lack for concern for someone who's recovering, and Rena looked like she was worried about me from the bottom of her heart. It didn't look like there was anything behind those expressions. Thought we might hang out for a bit, but it looks like you're not quite in the condition for it. You don't say. It seemed my face had appeared a bit sullen. Then here, Keiichi-kun. These are the mochi Nichan's grandma made. Reina held out a package wrapped in newspaper. There might be about 5 in there. Here, it was quite hefty. Ah, thanks. Send my regards to your grandma, Mion. Yep. And there's one that I made in there as well. I wonder if Keiichi-kun can guess which one. This is Kei-chan's homework since he missed the club meeting today. There are letters on each mochi's... There are letters on each mochi, so I'll ask you tomorrow. Were you checking if I was feeling better, or did you just come for club activities? Yep, looking fine. Guess you'll be able to make it tomorrow. And what are you gonna do if my fever comes back because of your shenanigans? Mi-chan, we shouldn't be making such a racket. Let's go. The other people here will get angry. The entranceway was a mess. You're right, let's get going. By the way, Kei-chan. Right here. Boom! Right here. What did you eat for lunch? The sudden question startled me as I went wide-eyed when I saw Mion. I had never seen her like that. It was a highly unsettling visage. Why is she asking me what I ate for lunch? What she said was almost so inane that I thought that it was almost meaningless. The way she said it, it was almost like she didn't care at all about what I ate. I ate out. She must have suspected I was with Oishi-san. Anyway, I felt that if I hesitated or tried to change the subject, they'd read too deep in it, so I tried answering as quickly as possible. Except contrary to the efforts I had made, there was a pause before they replied. So you ate out for lunch, Keiichi-kun. The glimmer from Rena's eyes changed at some point as well. It was now sharp, as if to make me feel the feigned ignorance behind her words even more. As if she already knew. That's how it looked to me. Well, was it good? Why are you asking me this? Mion was speaking in an unusually low tone, almost as if she knew I had eaten at the restaurant in town. No, I'm overthinking this. I mean, both of them should have been in school at lunchtime. There was no way they could have known where I was. Seems you were with a rather austere-looking older guy. Who was he? Flop. The package with the mochi I was holding slipped from out of my hands. I could tell that the blood had drained from my face, making me go pale. Oh? Keiichi-kun, who was he? Could it be the person from before, I wonder? I wonder. I could feel the back of my throat getting dry. This was no longer a bluff. They knew everything? How do you know that? It took everything I had finally force those words from my throat. My knees were shaking. Because there's nothing this old man doesn't know. Mion sneered knowingly, and her laugh seemed to carry on forever. So Kei-chan, what did you talk about? It seems you got pretty worked up over it, too. We weren't talking about you guys. It didn't have anything to do with you or Rena. Isn't it a bit strange to hear our names come up even though nobody asked about that? And his unwavering gaze pierced through my eyes and peered further inside me. I dug my own grave. My heart was throbbing so much it felt like it was going to explode. Well, whatever you're trying to hide, this old man already sees through it all. Remember that. I couldn't even shake my head. It took everything I had to stop my teeth from chattering. She never let her gaze break from mine, even as she tilted her head slightly. Keiichi-kun, you don't look so good. I think you should lie down. That's true. We should both head back home. As if nothing had happened, they both giggled at each other, started making their way out. I hadn't moved a muscle since I had dropped the package of mochi. As they left, they slowly closed the door behind them. All I could do was stare, as if I couldn't move until the door was completely closed. Just as the door was just about closed, it opened again suddenly with a creak, setting my heart racing once again. A single eye had peered through the narrow slit, and Mion's hawkish gaze peered at me once again. See you, Kei-chan. Yeah. I'd hate it if you missed school tomorrow, alright? But the door closed. I wasn't able to move a muscle even after their low laughter died off into the distance and silence once again enveloped the room. Coming back to my senses, the first thing I did was lock the door. They knew what Oishi-san and I talked about? Why? How? No, that wasn't important. Thinking about it now, all of it could have been overheard. From the beginning when Oishi-san met me. Just as Mion said. They couldn't hide anything. Then what were they trying to tell me? That part was obvious. They were warning me not to say anything unnecessary. What did they deem unnecessary? I only talked with Oishi-san about one thing. And they were warning me that that was unnecessary. What was it that Oishi-san talked to me about? The incidents involving Oyashiro-sama's curse that occurred every year weren't individual cases, but were connected as a whole, as well as the fact that there may be multiple perpetrators hidden within Hinamizawa. No, more precisely, that Mion, Rena, Satoko, and Rika-chan were all suspicious. Is that what they were warning me against? What kind of nonsense am I thinking about? I hit my own face hard enough that it let out a loud slap. If only that would wake me from this nightmare. But for some reason, it felt like I was punching a blanket. It was almost laughably painless. Calm down, Keiichi Maebara. When did I become such a pessimist? Calm down, calm down. Settle down and sort things out. The reason Mion knew I was eating lunch with Oishi-san was probably because somebody from Hinamizawa just happened to be there at the time. Just told Mion that I was there. That made the most sense. Plus, come to think of it, she didn't ask me where I ate lunch, did she? She only asked, was it good? They were curious since I was together with someone not from Hinamizawa. It's not as if they had any ulterior motives. That's it. That has to be it. That's a stupid way of thinking, dude. That's how you get yourself killed. Thinking about it that way was the same with Rena. I was just being strangely ambiguous about when I met with Oishi-san, and Rena was just correcting me on that. That's when I was bewildered by the change in character from the usual mild-mannered Rena, and startled by it. The most natural way of thinking of it. It felt like my mind was mixed up like a tangled mess of spaghetti. Deep red marinara sauce would have poured out of my nose and ears if you squeezed my head. Thinking of that, I suddenly felt like vomiting. I really didn't want that to happen, so I stopped holding my head. Lately, I had no idea what anyone was saying. Spending time with them was fun. It didn't feel like there was any sort of hidden agenda. I really do hope that they're a good bunch of people. When I moved here, I couldn't make heads or tails of everything. They were really kind to me. When it was really kind and always looked after me. As long as that strange affliction didn't rear its ugly head, she was really pretty cute. Mion was also a really good person. She didn't care about anyone's age or gender. She was optimistic and outgoing. I was never bored when I was with her. And talking of not getting bored, Rambunctious Satoko was a good person for that too. She was pretty bratty, but just the way that she interacted with others. That was just the way she interacted with others. Rika-chan was the same way. She didn't speak often, but it didn't mean that she was always silent. They're my friends. But after hearing the better untold secrets of Hinamizawa from Oishi-san and Tomitaki-san, when I was told about Oyashiro-sama's curse, things started going crazy. Then, hearing from Oishi-san that Mion, Rena, Satoko, and Rika-chan were all suspicious. After that, everyone changed. That's right. It all started getting weird after Oishi-san told me all that strange stuff. At the time, I really should have not listened to those weird stories. And I even shouldn't have heard about the past incidents from Tomitaki-san the night of Watanagashi. I just hadn't gotten that strange sense of curiosity. I just hadn't... That's right. That's why they fucked... Is that fucked? I think that's fucked. That's why they fucked Tomitaki-san. That imprudent outsider speaking to the likes of me after everybody went out of their way to keep it a secret from me. They'll probably... Oh. That's not fucked, that's killed. They'll probably kill Oishi-san too. Why is that blacked out? For trying to unearth what everybody was warning me to better left buried. Besides that, he was unforgivable for spewing words that made me doubt others. Of course, a guy like that is going to be killed. But both Tomitaki-san and Oishi-san were nothing but outsiders after all. They were entities who couldn't coexist with the people of Hinamizawa. Those guys could just fall into Oyashiro-sama's curse and just die. Why are they blacked out? It wasn't their fault. It was my fault for not being able to hold back my curiosity. It wasn't their fault. It wasn't their fault. I had settled into a daze. It was like a lethargic feeling. I had just gotten up. But the ominous chill that had haunted me had subsided. I was fine now. I was no longer frightened. I had completely recovered. I'll go to school tomorrow, right as rain. I'll greet everyone, take part in club activities. It'll definitely be fun. Had to be fun. I was one of them after all. That reminds me, I need to eat. No, you don't. No, this man does not. I hope I'm able to tell which one Rena made. I remembered the homework the two brought with them when they visited me. But wow, our club did delivery. That was something else. Figured out the package on the floor and headed into the living room. Why should it be like heads? I guess it would be nice to have some tea with it. To fill my mouth with mochi while drinking tea. Oh, it's quite the delectable situation I was in. Oh, dude. Opening up the newspaper wrapping, there were 5... Okay. Segment inside. There were letters from left to right on the newspaper. A, B, C, D, and E. Nothing. They said Rena made one of these. I wonder which one. Wasn't much difference in how they looked. They smelled and appeared about the same. This was a pretty difficult problem. The biggest difference is probably their shape. I wasn't sure what kind of person Leon's grandma was, but Rena had to be different from hers. Looking carefully, I could see that one mochi was made very neatly. Though, well, that, just by staring at it, one could tell it stood out. Looks like this challenge depends on whether or not this one is Rena's. I'm down and think even harder. Mihan had said her grandma made a ton of them and was told to give some out, if I remember correctly. So that meant that 4 of these were from that large batch. What about Rena? She probably only made 1. So she probably spent quite a bit of time on it. Meaning that the one Rena had made was this one, E. For a moment I thought it may have been a trap that Mian laid as she knew I'd pick up on it, but that probably wasn't the case. I wouldn't be so sure if I knew Mian had made it, but since she said Rena made it, it probably wasn't a trap. What? My tea is ready too. I'll start with the defending champ, Mian's grandma. Let's see. Don't eat that shit, dude. Don't eat stuff. I don't understand the logic behind eating a thing that your enemy just like came over and gave you. Like, oh yeah, I'm your worst enemy, or I'm like a person that has just like threatened you in some way to the point where I can't move because their glare is so like piercing through me. And I'm gonna go ahead and eat the freaking mochi ball. It was so delicate, I could think it was high-class Japanese dessert. So I normally had quite the appetite. I was slightly worried about the size and the proportion. But, well, first a bite. Don't bite into that, dude. This was quite a difficult one to judge, actually. The ingredients were exactly the same, so there was little difference in flavor. What was different was how it was shaped at the ends, so it was to be expected. So the deciding factors would be presentation and volume. Well-formed and well-sized champion versus Rena the challenger with a size you just couldn't get enough of. I only had 1 bite of Rena's. I would probably have to wait until after I was done eating to make my decision. Maybe there was something hidden inside that could cause an upset. Seems that prediction was right. Oh god. My tongue touched something. It didn't feel like something edible, so I reached in with my fingers and grabbed it. I fucking knew it, dude. This is why you don't eat shit that people give you. Before I could fully comprehend what it was, I threw away the rest of the mochi I was eating as fast as I could. Slammed it against the wall, causing the bean jam to splatter. After sticking for a moment, it slid down to the floor. I was dumbstruck by my own actions. What was I doing? Rena had gone out of her way to make it for me. How could I? Dumbstruck, I looked down at the hand that had performed such a vile act, and then I remembered what I had taken out of my mouth. First, I thought it was a hair. Even though it was shorter than Mian's, Rena's hair was still quite long. This wasn't short. It was also a bit too hard to be hair. It was thick enough to roll around on my tongue. There was a bit of a metallic sheen on one end of it. Yes, there was a hole for where a thread goes through, like it was a sewing needle. Yeah, that's right. It looked very much like a sewing needle. Exactly like one. The end was pointed as well, quite sharply. It really did look just like a sewing needle. What did I mean by Looked very much like a sewing needle just a bit ago. Couldn't answer. But a voice inside me already knew, and let me know by chattering my molars together. I couldn't stave off the terror welling up inside me. Suddenly I tasted something metallic and felt a prickling of pain at the back of my throat. I stuck my finger to the back of my mouth and felt around to see if I was bleeding. Suddenly I felt the urge to vomit. The sharp taste of bile irritated the back of my throat. I clasped both hands over my mouth, and after writhing in agony, I was somehow able to hold back the nausea. I was finally able to breathe normally again, but this time my heart was intensely throbbing. Finally it registered. Exactly what was mixed in with the mochi. Before I could think of the correct word, my hands were already on the move. I tossed the rest of the mochi against the wall. Geometrical patterns of scattered bean jam on the wall suddenly invoked a terrible omen in my mind. After looking away, I dashed out into the hall and flew upstairs into my room, where I stayed under my covers until morning. I clutched my own shoulders, howling madly in a mix of anger, fear, sadness, and frustration. This wasn't a warning or reminder. Nothing as simple as that. Threat, warning, or reminder. What had happened in Hinamizawa? What is happening in Hinamizawa? What would happen? I didn't know the answer to any of these questions. Where did I break a taboo? Regardless, now Rena, and Mion, and the others, they consider me an enemy. And they thought I should just die. I won't let you kill me. Not for such a pointless reason. I fell into a restless sleep as I was crushed by my own negative emotions. It was just as if I was being drawn into a billowing, bottomless marsh. Okay, Jesus, that was a decently long episode. Okay. I knew it kind of from the beginning that Rena had known that I was going with Oishi-san. They were at school. Part of me thinks that the whole town is on it. And you know what we didn't read was the tips from last time? I don't believe. And I don't know what page we're on. Actually, did we? What's the drug that makes you commit suicide? Notice from the police chief. So those two, and then this one. It's super interesting. I think that maybe the whole town's in on it, rather than just them. But I don't know. It's definitely the four of them now. There's no doubt about that. The idea that each of them have a split personality makes me think that they have actually different people inside of them or some shit. So I'm starting to think that there might be a little bit of truth to this whole demon thing. Just because they've hit on it so much. I was really sure about it when they talked about how Rena mentioned the Oyashiro-sama curse before living here. But then he also mentioned that she used to live here in Hinamizawa. So, I don't know. But I'm going to go ahead and end it here for time's sake. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys enjoyed today's episode, please hit the like button. I really appreciate it. Also, subscribe. If you haven't done so already, we're going to finish this game. So, I'm interested to see how it ends. I think that the game of hide and seek that we played, the zombie hide and seek, I think that's coming into play. I think my theory where all the games we played are gonna somehow pertain to this like story that we're going into is more and more becoming like a correct thing that's gonna happen. I don't know. We'll see. I had to end it here. I will see you guys in the next episode of this, which should be very soon. And peace out, you guys.